This is the Television Enthusiast Podcast, The Weekly Set.
Episode 34, recorded November 19th, 2015.
Welcome to the TV Enthusiast Podcast, The Weekly Set. This is episode 34, and today we're going to be talking about the winter television schedule. We're going to be previewing some of the shows that look interesting, talking about what's kind of coming up that's on our radar. Joining me today, as always, are Will.
Hello.
And Kat.
Hi.
Okay, so let's start off. We're just going to be doing this in chronological order. So we're looking at the winter schedule as December through February. So we're kind of doing these 3-month blocks. We're not going to go by the actual days of winter. I'm not going to say, oh, this is December 22nd through. It's just ridiculous. So we've blocked it into just 3-month groupings for whenever we do these schedules. So starting on December 1st, Real Rob is coming to Netflix. This is going to be a Rob Schneider, Curb Your Enthusiasm-esque series. It's about the real him, I guess, from what we've seen of it. There isn't too much available. There is a clip. It looks like it's very Curb Your Enthusiasm-esque. Any interest?
I've never watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, so I don't.
I never watched.
It's kind of in the vein of The Office?
No, it's about like his real life.
It's more like
he's playing himself.
It's more like Curb Your Enthusiasm is more like Seinfeld than anything else. And what I got from this trailer, it's like a Rob Schneider version, which doesn't look that good, and it's Rob Schneider. And why? The only thing I can ask is why.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising with all the stuff Netflix is doing. This kind of is like a weird, almost like a stealth release. Like I saw it come up because I was looking through the Netflix schedules and added it to our list, but you haven't heard anything about this. You know, there's like no buzz at all about that. It's just kind of like happening, I guess.
Larry David is like a talented, very funny comedian, very witty. And Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider's the hot chick.
Rob Schneider's a punchline in South Park. So.
Yeah, I know, pretty much.
Rob Schneider.
Derp, 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 derp.
Yeah. I mean, I might check it out just if I have nothing else to do. But yeah, I mean, who knows? This could be really good for all we know. Rob Schneider was an SNL player. He has been in some good stuff despite all his huge run of bad movies he's done.
This could be brilliant. I mean, the teaser wasn't like awful or anything, so.
Yeah, the actual trailer thing, or it was just like a scene from it, I guess, was actually kind of funny. It's just basically him at a Starbucks getting a coffee and then getting harassed because he isn't tipping enough.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of we'll see what comes from that. I think it's going to be kind of like about everybody hating Rob Schneider, expecting him to be richer than he is, but then also like not having any real respect for him or anything. So that seems to be kind of like the flow of what it's about. But yeah, that's going to be on December 1st. On December 4th, we have 2 kind of shows kicking on here. Transparent is coming back to Amazon. Now, neither of you got a chance to watch this, right?
No.
This is Jeffrey Tambor from Arrested Development. He won an Emmy for this role. And it's about him as a transgendered woman who's older, coming out to his family, and that was kind of like the first season. So the second season is kind of continuing on with, this revelation and what it means for his family and what they're doing. So
Jeffrey Tambor is playing that.
Yes. So the first season was good. It was kind of like the first good Amazon series. Like Netflix had been doing a few good series for the last couple of years, and Amazon had been trying with their kind of pilot seasons, and nothing was really hitting. Transparent was like the first one that's like, okay, yeah, we recognize this. This is kind of like made Amazon the Showtime to Netflix's HBO. So yeah, it's a good show. I mean, I like the first season, so I'll watch it. Coming out on the same day, speaking of Netflix, is A Very Murray Christmas. This is the Christmas special with Bill Murray and a huge list of guest stars, including George Clooney. Who else is in this? It's Amy Poehler, Chris Rock, Michael Cera, bunch of like funny people on it. So
yeah.
So it looks good to me. It's not like it's not a variety show. Like I think it's gonna have variety show elements, but it's about them trying to make a variety show and like about everything kind of going wrong when they're trying to make it.
Oh, that's really
So yeah, it's as a huge fan of Scrooged, I'm like okay, Bill Murray, Christmas, sign me up. So
yeah,
we'll have to see how it turns out. I mean, it's definitely got a lot of talent behind it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, moving on here. December 14th. We're getting a little bit of a double whammy from SyFy. We're getting Childhood End, which is premiering. Have either of you read the book Childhood End by Arthur C. Clarke?
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a book I read in high school.
Arthur C. Clarke.
Yes, author of 2001. Yeah. So Childhood End is a really kind of fascinating story. Basically, and this is going to be a little different because this is like a more modern telling of it. Where when Childhood End came out, we hadn't launched into space yet. We hadn't launched a rocket into space, and it was kind of before that, and it was basically us launching a rocket or getting ready to launch a rocket into space is what triggered this event where these aliens came to Earth and they basically inhabited like our skies for decades before even revealing themselves. So it's like the story that takes place over like a very long stretch of time.
So it involves both the launching of the rocket and then the eventual reveal of the alien.
Yeah. So in the book, like we started to get ready to launch the rocket, and then the aliens came and basically said, no, you can't do that. And then they stayed in the skies, but they weren't revealing themselves, and they were kind of being benevolent and making it so basically people really didn't have to work anymore. You know, they basically had things like kind of replicators like you would have on Star Trek for food, and it basically just allowed people to better themselves instead. So you didn't have to work, so you just kind of learn stuff and advance yourself. And I don't want to like spoil kind of the story of what's going on in the whole thing, but it's a really kind of fascinating story.
To serve man.
Okay, I have been thinking of The Simpsons a little bit myself.
Yeah,
The Simpsons has had a fair amount of Kane.
It's not what not what people would expect from an alien series. That's what I'll say. This is not like your typical expected alien story.
Well,
it's very different.
Arthur C. Clarke, I mean, he's one of the masters.
I mean, just watching the trailer, it looks good. It looks intriguing. I mean,
it has good people in it. Charles Dance is playing the alien like overlord. He played Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay. So Tywin Lannister is the alien overlord, so you know you can't trust him right there. I'm sorry.
Well, it's
you're a
I don't want to spoil anything about it. It's not what you would expect from like the way it sets up and kind of the ominous feeling it has. It's like it has a good reason to be ominous, but it's not at all what you think, and that's kind of what makes it very interesting. Now, this is one I actually have like the first two nights, the screeners, so I haven't gotten to watch them yet, but I'm going to soon. I'm looking forward to it. They actually gave me like a warning with the thing saying like, do not spoil this one specific thing. And I'm like, I haven't watched it, but I know exactly what they're talking about because I've read the book. So
sure.
But yeah, so
do you like the book?
I definitely like the book. That was back though, for me, that was when I didn't like reading. So I kind of I'd skim through like parts of books and stuff, and like I really like the concepts of it. But you know, like I would have to get into more detail, I'd have to go back and thoroughly read it, but I haven't done that. But I really loved some of the concepts that are in Childhood End.
Sure.
Nice.
Arthur C. Clarke is a very prescient author. You know, he's known for being somebody that very accurately predicted kind of things that were going to happen in the future. Not like him saying, "Oh, I predict with my mystic eye," but like just as a technologist, like understanding where things were heading. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
He predicted in Childhood End. He predicted like that we were going to start the space race basically in 1967. Childhood End I think came out in the 50s. So I mean that's very close in time to like when we actually really did. You know, I mean, the moon landing was 69, so
1954 was when it was written.
So yeah, he's very, very prescient author, and it's going to be interesting to see because like we have satellites going out to, you know, Jupiter's rings, and we have you know, like it's our Saturn's rings, and we have it's like the initial concept of them like stopping us from going out into space, like they have to change that, you know, there's like an adjustment that has to be made there. So I'm interested in what they're going to do with that. I always figured if they adapted it that they would just kind of say deep space, like, you know, you've traveled within your own galaxy, you can't go beyond it, you know. But yeah, it's should be a very entertaining show. Paired up with that is another one that SyFy has given me the screener for, but this one I did watch, it's very good, is The Expanse. For last week's podcast, I had mentioned that I had watched the screener for The Expanse, and I was going to talk about my impressions about it, and I kept saying, oh, but I'll get into detail about that later, and then I never got into detail about it. It completely slipped my mind somehow. So I actually ended up editing in a few words just because it seemed weird not to. But I'll say right now, it's a very large ensemble cast piece. It's got some good actors in it. Jonathan Banks from Breaking Bad, Thomas Jane from The Punisher. I even saw, like, you know, the guy who plays Death in Supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
But it's got a very large ensemble cast, and it's kind of about this conflict between Earth, Mars, and the belts, which are like this belt of comets or something that are being mined. With you know, it's all humans. It's not like Martians, like aliens. It's like people that have, you know, colonized Mars. And Mars is like this technologically advanced power. Earth is they're like second to that, but they're kind of the current ruling. They kind of rule over the belts and everything. And the belts are kind of like impoverished workers that are basically on these mines, and they've been in space like their whole life, so they're very weak. There is a shot in it where you see one of the belters being like strung up on Earth, and it's like the gravity is just like killing him, and his body's like limp in the air. It's just weird, like the way they present it. It's they really show like how frail the human body can become if you're like basically in zero gravity through your whole life, you know. So it's interesting in that regard. What was that?
I was saying that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's other ways in which you can kind of see they're sick and they have certain deformities and other things. Like the belters clearly have the worst when it comes to the three groups. They drew the worst straw. They're kind of in miserable conditions, and yeah, so it's about that, and it's kind of takes place all over the place, and there's a brewing war going on, possibly between Mars and Earth, with the belt being kind of like, you know, in the middle of it, and all sorts of stuff going on. This is like SyFy's big bet. Right. Like this is their, you know, they put out Killjoys and they put out Dark Matter. Those were more like reasonably budgeted SyFy shows. This is like their we need another Battlestar Galactica show, you know, like this is their we need something high budget, acclaimed, you know. We need a very serious science fiction series, you know, and that's kind of what this is. So having watched the screener, it's good. I don't know how much I like it. I've only seen one episode. I kind of want to go back and explore it again and kind of see what I really think about it. But it's definitely the production values and stuff, all top notch, very good. Nice. Are you guys interested in either of these? And Childhood End of The Expanse?
They both sound interesting, but I have so much on my plate right now.
Yeah.
I would say Childhood End looks a lot more intriguing to me than The Expanse. They both look good. They both look like solid science fiction shows. I'm really glad that SyFy is embracing sci-fi once again, like really embracing it. Mm-hmm. So this is always good. Science fiction shows are always welcome. Like Kat, I probably won't be watching these as they air because my plate is very, very full. awful. So I don't think I'll be picking up any new shows this winter. But yeah, I'm definitely interested.
One thing to note is that, like USA did with Mr. Robot, I mentioned this in the last podcast, where they released the pilot episode on like every digital platform like a month early. They're doing the same thing with The Expanse. That's going to be out November 23rd, so next week. That's going to be available digital for free on pretty much everything. So if they stream videos like shows, they're going to have it. You know, I mean, it's going to be on, I think, Hulu and YouTube and Google Play and iTunes and everything. So if you do want to check that out, if anybody does, The Expanse will be available about a month early, a little bit less than a month early, on the 23rd. So just kind of, hop on YouTube or Google Play or Amazon or whatever you use and check, and it's there. One thing I would recommend, Mr. Robot, the pilot episode, is no longer free on any of those services. But when you actually order it, when it comes out as free, like when I ordered Mr. Robot when it was free, it's permanently in my library now. Like it's not, even though it's not free anymore, I still have it as if I bought it. So, even if you're not going to watch it right away, you might want to look into, if whatever video service you use, purchasing it for $0 when it comes out. And then you'll have it if you do want to watch it. So commercial free and everything.
Nice.
So yeah, this is a strategy I'd like to see some more TV shows employ. I think in general, like pilot episodes of pretty much every show should just be freely available because it's how you hook people in, Unless it's like an anthology series. Like I could understand them not doing that with like Black Mirror because that's a whole story,
Yeah, that's a whole story unto itself. Yeah, I can understand that. But yeah, no, I agree with that. Totally.
So let's see here. Thursday, December 17th. Luther is back on BBC America. Have either of you ever watched Luther?
No. We can skip it.
It's a British cop series with Idris Elba. A lot of people might know him from The Wire. He's also in Thor: The Dark World and Thor. He's kind of the actor I always go like, we need a black Batman and it needs to be Idris Elba. Or we need a black James Bond and it needs to be Idris Elba.
Right? He's a fantastic presence. It'd be fun to see him take over one of those franchises just because he could just sell all the layers of the role.
Yeah.
We need a black Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It needs to be Idris Elba.
Yeah. Yes, I endorse that as well.
Cool with that.
Just a term, right? Yeah, it's just that fantastic of an actor.
So this is his TV show. It kind of comes and goes in the UK, but yeah, it'll be back December 17th on BBC America. So anybody who wants to watch that, check it out. December 18th on Friday, F is for Family. This is a new animated comedy on Netflix. This is based on the comedy or somehow connected to comedian Bill Burr. Are either of you know who he is? Or
not really.
He's kind of a brash comedian, kind of like a guy's guy type comedian or something, but not like a blue collar comedy tour, but like that way. But it's like an Al Bundy type, I guess. But so he's got the kind of family cartoon animated series along the lines of like a Family Guy or a Simpsons or something like that.
And I'm like, we really need another one of these. It's set in the 70s, I guess, which is...
At least it doesn't have Seth MacFarlane's name attached to it.
Right. But it's like, I've seen enough animated family comedies, I mean...
I think this is just an example of Netflix putting their feet in everything.
Yeah.
They have their, like, political drama. They have their, like, actions, like, comic book character ones with all the Netflix, or the Marvel series they have, It's like they're trying to put their feet in everything. They even have that Christmas special with Bill Murray, So this is their The Simpsons. This is their animated comedy, They're just trying to kind of spread out into everything. I remember a long time ago, there was actually a report that they were having like B-movies made for Netflix, specifically to fill out like the gaps in like box art styles that they have on their page. That it was like, we need some kind of creepy, scary-looking weird thing, so we need to finance it so we can actually put that up on the site. They're literally just trying to kind of put their feet in everything and cover every base possible. So this is just part of their strategy for that, I believe. So Netflix series tend to almost always get second seasons. They don't really care too terribly much about ratings like HBO. They're more about attention. Yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes. For sure. So Friday, January 1st, Sherlock, The Abominable Bride. This is their Victorian special. Kat, you said you don't watch Sherlock, and you had a couple reasons. Is it in general just like you don't like the style of it or something, or is it just...
No, it's that I don't like egotistical know-it-all characters who go around abusing everyone around them and get away with it because they're brilliant.
So not a fan of House?
I have bad associations with Benedict Cumberbatch, and when it comes down to it, I'd rather invest in a show that can give me like 100 episodes as opposed to a show that gives me like 3 episodes a season and then disappears for 2 years. Yeah. I want more content, so I've just been like, okay, that's cool. Other people watch it. That's just fine. I have no idea.
It's really because Benedict Cumberbatch looks like an alien, isn't it?
Apparently, a lot of women find attractive. I've had bad experiences with him, so that. He played Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness, and I've had a hard time not associating him with that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I could see how that would taint your perception of the Cumberbatch.
He is playing Doctor Strange.
That's true. And I think he's a genuinely interesting pick for that role. So
he is playing. He's actually in a lot of things these days. He's also going to show up in Zoolander 2. Yeah. But as far as Sherlock goes, I love it. I mean, I love the character that Benedict Cumberbatch is playing. Like, I get where Kat's coming from. Like, she hates those type of characters, but his shirt, it comes off as so genuine and charming.
Yeah.
That even though
he'll like totally offend somebody, and then they'll get all offended and storm out, and he has like no idea why.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, why? Like he's brilliant, but like in a lot of ways, he's like also like
socially inept. Yeah,
he's completely socially inept. And that's actually endearing. And
I'm looking forward to this. I just think it's a little weird that it's this is a one-off Victorian special.
Well, yeah. I mean, because the main series takes place in the present day, and we know Sherlock Holmes is traditionally a Victorian character, and so I guess it's just a little special thing. I guess they're doing for fans, fans of the character and stuff. It's obvious too. There's obvious nods to that in the trailer at the end. Like Watson is like, "Oh, you're Sherlock Holmes. Just wear the damn hat." It's like, how is that not a wink to the audience?
Yeah.
So you just know this is going to be fun. This is good. I'm also with Kat that I wish there was more content, but to be fair, there's 3 episodes, but each episode is like 2 hours long.
Yeah, they're like movies. They're like little mini movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. I want more real Sherlock, like the modern day continuation of the story, and that's coming. That's coming. It's a ways off. It's apparently I think Cumberbatch said that he's actually done filming Doctor Strange, or he's done on the location shooting for that, and that Sherlock was up next.
Oh, nice.
So they should be filming that soon, which means I don't know, maybe 2019.
Put itself on hold filming for in The Hobbit.
Yeah, well, that was mostly.
A few years ago, they were like they couldn't film more Sherlock because both Martin Freeman and Benedict Cumberbatch were working The Hobbit.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of work Sherlock around the schedules of those actors because they're both getting a lot of work now.
I thought that must have been a lot of fun for fans of Sherlock to watch The Hobbit and have the scene between Smaug and Bilbo together.
I wanted Benedict Cumberbatch to show up in the first season of Fargo.
I kept waiting for Martin Freeman to get cast in Doctor Strange. Well, apparently Martin Freeman has like this big mystery role in Civil War. Yeah. So like, I guess now that Martin Freeman is officially going to be in the MCU, it's only a matter of time before him and Doctor Strange get together. Whoever Martin Freeman's character is, because they're keeping that like a big secret.
Okay, I'm sorry. Your wording of that just makes me giggle. Before they get together.
Oh yeah.
Like they're gonna hook up.
They might.
Well, who knows?
You don't know who Martin Freeman.
People clearly spend way too much time reading shippers.
They got some chemistry going on, let me tell you.
You do not know the character Martin Freeman is playing. So
I know.
It's still possible.
So next up on our bracket here, we have Sunday, January 3rd. A lot of the stuff is just stuff that's kind of coming back, like The Simpsons and Family Guy and Border Town. But
The Simpsons is coming back. Who would have thought?
But there's a new series called Cooper Barrett's Guide to Surviving Life. Looks kind of like a young friends, irresponsible friends sitcom, typical. You've seen it a million times. You've seen it in Friends. You've seen it in New Girl. You've seen it, But if you're into that kind of comedy, and the thing about comedies like this is it sounds like I'm being really down on it, but you really have no idea. Like, the premise means nothing on a comedy like that. It's all about the execution.
Right, exactly.
The chemistry of the characters and stuff. And you can't really grasp that from just like a trailer or something. So,
right.
Who knows if it's an Our Friends comedy.
It looks like something you could just put on, while you're doing something and be like, at least good background noise. That's the thing is that a lot of these shows, a lot of like sitcoms in general, like you describe the premise and it's not going to necessarily sound nearly as good as it is or nearly as bad as it is, depending on the show. Right, and like you describe Married with Children, it's like a poor family in Chicago. Yeah,
and it's like, but it's an amazing show. It's really funny, Same thing. You look at, say, Parks and Recreation, or it's like you look at just the base premise. It's not necessarily that interesting. It's what they do with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like The Office. The Office. If you want to go by the base premise of The Office, it's an office for a paper company. Gets documented by some like nameless, faceless documentarians or something. And that's not something that you're gonna rush to watch based on that. But it's all about the execution because it's like the most hilarious show ever.
So we'll have to see what this turns out to be, if it turns out to be any good at all. Going for the long title on it though, Cooper Barrett's Guide to Surviving Life. Like makes me think of like Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Exactly, that's like the first thing I thought of when I saw that title, and I'm like, oh, I like that show. I'm like, wait a minute.
Also a Fox show, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe that's the sign that it'll be great. I don't know.
This is the spiritual successor to Parker Lewis. You see it.
We're also on that same day. We're getting a second season for Gallivant. Did either of you watch Gallivant?
I watched like a few, like 3 episodes from the first season. Mm-hmm. I wasn't too terribly impressed with it. I was like, it just wasn't as funny as I was hoping it was going to be.
A lot of great guest cameos.
Oh my God,
some of them worked well, some of them didn't.
I was watching it mainly because they said Weird Al was going to be in it at some point. And like, okay, I have to see that. I don't think
some of the guest spots really paid off, some of them didn't. It's some of the premise paid off, some of it didn't. So I actually thought it was fairly fun to watch. They went way overboard with the singing. Like if you actually watched that show, like during the commercials, like they'd have a commercial for like the news, and it would all be sung to the same like theme as the show.
Oh yeah.
It was getting like, okay, this is getting a bit over the top here. I don't think the first season actually did that well, so I'm kind of surprised that a second season's coming because it's a little bit on the costlier side just because musicals are, because you have to write all the music for them, and perform them and record it and create these elaborate numbers. And
what I really liked is the actor who plays like the evil king in the show.
Yes.
He
Played Carlton Lassiter on Psych. And he was in Jericho, and he's a favorite of mine. So
yeah, he's a great actor. He's great in this as his character. But I just thought everything else was like lacking. Like the humor was lacking and everything. I just thought, oh, okay. I don't know. It just didn't hit the spot for me.
So here, January 5th on Tuesday, the Shannara Chronicles. Now this was one that I think kind of surprised all of us when they put out the first trailer for it, because it's like an MTV fantasy series with mostly teens cast in it, and you're kind of like not expecting anything. And then we watched the trailer. I think this was around Comic-Con, but like 2 years ago, I think. I'm not sure. It was a while ago, but I remember us all kind of being a bit surprised by what they were pulling off.
Production values look fantastic.
Yeah. This looks like
which is great to see, because sometimes fantasy needs a lot of money.
I am shocked. I watched this. I am shocked this is on MTV. Not just mainly because of the production values alone. Who knew MTV was like willing to bankroll like something like that?
For me, the young actors fall a bit flat in this, but there are some great, performers in here as well. I mean, we've talked before. Yeah,
exactly. Monty Bennett is in this.
Yeah, oh, so awesome.
Yeah, so.
I mean, this has the potential to be totally awesome. I am down with this, and this would actually make the first MTV show I would watch. like that's a moment right there. It's like I'm watching something on MTV. I don't know what's happening with my life anymore.
It is kind of funny watching the trailer though, because when you watch the trailer for this or any other MTV show, it's all like, you get swept up in the kind of the production values and the look of it and the fantasy setting, and then the second the trailer's over, it kicks in this like generic pop beat, and and then you see a bunch of like teenagers dancing around in like South Beach or something.
and you know what? This is coming up later, but I'm amazed that this is a fantasy show on MTV, and then you go down to like Shadowhunters or whatever, and that looks more like what you expect out of something on MTV.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, but
yeah, but I just want to draw the comparison because it is such a stark, relevant comparison.
So let's see here. I believe on that same day, is something that we're going to be even more excited for, which is Marvel's Agent Carter Season 2. So this is her in Hollywood.
They had their trailer debut during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this last week. I was way excited.
Yeah, it's short. It's like a little 30-second thing, but it's still exciting.
So she's in Hollywood. Please let them be making a Captain America movie.
Like the radio drama, you mean?
Yeah, like the radio drama.
It was great.
That would be way too meta. Oh my god.
I want to see Howard Stark's adventures.
It would be meta,
in Hollywood.
It would be meta, and it would be amazing. Because
what is wrong with you?
This will be fun to watch. Agent Carter has always been fantastic, so it's gonna be like it was with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. last year, where it comes on, you're like, no more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yay, Agent Carter, and then Agent Carter ends like, no more Agent Carter, yay, it's S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right? Great shows, and I hope they could do this for a few years.
I really hope so too. I really hope so, because that's a great rhythm to be in, because it's like when S.H.I.E.L.D. goes on hiatus, you still have something new to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a great thing for TV in general. I mean, but yeah,
it's a great show in general.
It's a great show in general. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
And it's nice that it explores something that's I I wouldn't say untapped, because obviously Captain America tapped it, but that's relatively unexplored area of the MCU.
Oh, I completely agree.
There's so much. I mean, the MCU is kind of tapped into everything right now. Is it in space, and it's getting into the mysticism now with Doctor Strange, and I mean they're tapping into all fields, and it's nice to have like some area where it's not quite as common, and you kind of have like a little bit, like one of the problems with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is that they can't go too far, because like they're not going to do something absolutely like stark raving mad crazy, because that's going to be left up to the movies. You can tell where their priorities are in the MCU, and I think they've done well kind of skating around that. But with Agent Carter, it's kind of like, all cards are, they're completely open. They don't have anything to worry about, to tap dance around.
To anyone or anything.
Right.
They're not setting up for Defenders. They're not setting up for Avengers. They're not setting up for Inhumans or Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
They're reasonably separated from everything to the point where they can do kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. That's like reasonably separated from everything else to the point where they can just focus on doing their own thing, and so that's a strong point in Agent Carter's favor.
Yeah. So Wednesday, January 6th. This is a show that I never quite got into, but I know Will likes. Is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
You never got into this?
I've seen the odd rerun here or there.
Oh, it's hilarious! It's one of my favorite comedies on TV.
Can you believe though? 11 seasons.
I know.
It's such a cult series, and it's crazy.
I expected that to last 11 seasons. Holy cow! Yeah, I know. This is basically FX's Seinfeld.
And again, we talked about before with comedy premises: 5 friends in a bar. That's the premise.
Well, the actual premise is 5 asshole friends in a bar who also happen to be idiots.
But it just goes out from there. So yeah, it's a beloved cult favorite show. So if you watch it, you don't need us telling you it's coming back. You're probably got it circled on your calendar.
Yeah. I don't think.
We're also getting then the return of Men Seeking Women. This is one of the shows that I really wanted to watch last year, and I missed my chance. And then by the time I went to try to catch up on it, it was off Hulu.
Oh, really?
So I just couldn't access it, and I still don't think I can access it. I need to look up again and see, because it's been a while since I've checked. But this might be one I might want to binge the first season in preparation for it coming back, because it looks really interesting. It's Jay Baruchel. It's like a surreal kind of abstract comedy where it's about him trying to go on the dating scene, and he's like dating trolls, and there's very just obscure elements to it. It's ridiculous, it's absurdist. So I always dig that. So it's something I'm kind of interested in. Have either of you had any interest in this at all?
Nah.
No, not really.
Yeah, this is something, I missed out on my opportunity to see it, and I'm like, I gotta try to find a way to catch it, but if not, then oh well, I still have lots of other shows to fall back on.
Right, definitely.
That same day is the return of American Crime. I completely thought this show was canceled. It wasn't on our list until kind of more recently, and I just had completely thought the show was canceled, and I saw an advertisement for it, I was like, what? This is another anthology series, not to be confused with American Crime Story, which is another anthology series that we're going to be talking about later. This is just American Crime. The first story dealt with kind of race relations related to a crime. Like there was a crime took place, a murder, and a rape, and then things just kind of spun out of control, and you start getting into the kind of racial struggles in Los Angeles. No, it wasn't Los Angeles. It was in a small town in California, I think. But yeah, it was actually a pretty decent show. This is a completely new story. Same cast, similar to the way they do American Horror Story. So This one has what's her name? Can't think of it. From Desperate Housewives, Felicity was it her?
Felicity Huffman.
Yes, Felicity Huffman is in this.
Here's how you remember Felicity Huffman. She was married to William H. Macy, and Stephen Colbert famously gave them a couple name of William H. Muffman.
That's like I thought of him too, and I couldn't remember his name either. Like I blanked on both. I was like, but yeah, it's a pretty decent show. The first season was, at least. So the second season, completely new story. Looks like this one's gonna take place around like a basketball team. Not sure if they're still gonna be playing with race relations, but it looks like it might be. We'll have to see. Maybe they should just change the name of the show to Racism.
Racism.
That's a bit on the nose.
But we'll have to see how that turns out. I know my sister really loved the show. I thought it was decent. Thursday, January 7th, the third season of, and this is a great long title, The Increasingly Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret. This is a hilarious show. I don't know if either of you have ever seen this, but it's David Cross from, he was just in Netflix's With Bob and David, which just came back, which was before Mr. Show on HBO and just came back to Netflix. He's also in Arrested Development as I can't think of his name again. It's failing me. He's the anal rapist or the anal rapist.
Oh, Tobias.
Yeah, Tobias.
He's also in the Chipmunk.
I just kind of blocked that from memory.
I think I read an interview with David Cross, and the interview asked him if he was going to be in the next Chipmunks movie, and he kind of said he said something like, I'm contractually obligated to be in those, and he's like, I am desperately searching for a way out of that.
He actually also wrote a bunch of jokes for the game Destiny that weren't included into the game. Like he and Brian Posehn, I guess, wrote like a whole bunch of material for that game, like jokes that were supposed to be in it, and they didn't include any of it. So it's I love David Cross. I loved the series. It's basically he's like a sycophant. He constantly lies, and every time he lies, he has to cover it up by lying more.
I saw the first episode, and it's so hilarious because he gets the job because this executive
who's played by from Arrested Development as well.
Will Arnett.
Yeah, Will Arnett.
This guy is such an idiot. But he overhears David Cross, being aggressive to somebody over the phone. It turns out he was just practicing being aggressive.
He was listening to a self-help tape. Yeah.
He was listening to a self-help tape, practicing to be assertive and stuff. Because in reality, he really isn't at all. But based on what he overhears, he decides to give David Cross this job
in England, yeah.
in England, and then it just goes all downhill from there.
Yeah, it's just and he's just constantly having to lie, and it's funny because some people are calling him on the lie basically and forcing him to dig himself deeper, to amuse themselves, and some people are genuinely kind of concerned for him, but he's oh no, I'm perfectly fine, yes, it's really funny. He ends up getting himself wrapped up in these increasingly escalating situations. It's really funny, and it goes some places in the second season that are kind of interesting. John Hamm's in the second season, interesting enough, playing himself, I believe, but as a manservant. He's somehow found himself contractually obligated to be this guy's manservant.
Okay, weird.
It's a really funny series. I'm happy to see it's coming back. Season 2 ended in a way that felt like final, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see what they do with the season 3. There's no stuff up on this show yet. We just know it's coming, so no trailer or anything. So I'm kind of completely in the dark about where they're going to go with it. It's funny though. I know in the second season they were even throwing in Lost-like elements, mysteries and stuff. It was really weird,
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah. Let's see here. Sunday, January 10th, we got 2 shows coming back: Bob's Burgers on Fox and Shameless on Showtime. Either of you watch either of those?
No. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what Shameless is. For some reason in my mind, I'm confusing it with Limitless.
Shameless is the one with William H. Macy in it, who we mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't watch either of those.
Yeah. And then Bob's Burger. I watched Shameless, or I watched it. I think I stopped last season. It's gone a bit long. This is its 6th season.
Yeah, I haven't watched either shows, to be honest.
Bob's Burger is something I've kind of It's Always Sunny. It's something I've just seen the odd rerun.
Okay. I mean, I heard Bob's Burgers was good. I know it has a following. It looks charming. I just haven't watched it.
It's also, Bob is voiced by Archer from Archer.
Yeah, and they actually had an episode of Archer like crossed over with Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, where Archer was running a burger joint, yeah.
Yeah, where Archer was right. I saw that. That was hilarious. The same voice as H. John Benjamin.
Yep, who was also in Hot American Summer, First Day at Camp.
Yep.
As a can of vegetables.
I recognize that voice anywhere. Actually, I first got to know H. John Benjamin from his role as Coach McGurk on Home Movies, which was just really wonderful. Unfortunately, short-lived.
That was created by Brandon Smalls, who also did Metalocalypse, which is one I really liked.
Yeah. I think I preferred Home Movies to Metalocalypse personally.
As a metalhead, I loved Metalocalypse. That show had guest appearances by so many of my metal heroes.
Yeah.
So we had talked before about Shadowhunters. This is January 12th is the debut of Shadowhunters on the channel Freeform, which used to be called ABC Family.
If you love Twilight, you'll still probably hate this.
So Shadowhunters is a new adaptation of the Mortal Instruments series of books, which actually spawned some movies. I think just one movie, or I don't know, maybe two.
I think there was just the one. It's probably.
I always get it confused with that other one. What?
I think the series is. It's probably best that they're doing it for television rather than film.
Apparently, the trailer really does not look great.
It's great. These people can shapeshift. They're invisible. But nobody seems to have the superpower to act.
Yeah, the trailer does not look great on this one. I don't know. This is a series, oddly, I always get this series for some reason confused with that other one that actually has multiple movies. Divergent or whatever. Yeah. I always got City of Bones and Divergent mixed up in my head. So
yeah, there are a lot of these YF series. I think the problem is they're all being adapted for film at once, and they have a lot fundamentally in common. So it's easy to see for them to all run together in your head. Basically, they're all either fundamentally Harry Potter, they're Twilight, or they're the Hunger Games.
Yeah,
right. They're all three at the same time.
This one seems to be more along the Twilight range, I guess. I don't know.
Being more in the realm of Twilight.
Yeah.
And if it isn't, then I reserve the right to a novel about a wizard vampire trapped in a game of survival with a beautiful woman that he has to seduce or something. That's all mine.
Go ahead and write it.
Thank you. I will be a billionaire.
Okay, so next up, going from something that really doesn't look that great to something I'm actually thinking looks really good. Thursday, January 14th, Carlton Cuse continues his stranglehold on every TV show in existence by putting out his new series, Colony, on USA. This is, of course, the series that...
Holloway and Sarah Lane Kelly, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Lost in The Walking Dead.
And wow, does Josh Holloway deserve his own series, so I really hope this works out for him.
I think this is Josh Holloway's second stab at a series ever since, Intelligence.
That wasn't that great.
Yeah, that came out, that bombed, that was not that great, so it's nice Josh Holloway is bouncing back, hopefully to something better.
He's all, Cuse, give me something!
Right. He called up Carlton Cuse, he's like, okay, you gotta give me some material here. it's like, yeah, reuniting with one of the Lost creators, that's definitely a great choice. This looks interesting. At first I thought it's set in like, I don't know, like the setting is like kind of strange. It's like this modern day Los Angeles, but it's been colonized, and there's like a lot of...
They're being very vague about what's colonizing them, too.
Yeah, there's like a lot of sci-fi elements, too, because there's like these flying drones that look like really alien, and then there's like some otherworldly stuff in there, and it's like, yeah, and they're being vague, like what invaded and colonized,
Yeah, like we don't, like everybody kind of, I think, initially assumed aliens, and they've been like, even with everybody saying that, they're saying, we're being very careful about not saying what.
Yeah,
so it could be something very different from that.
Aliens is the obvious answer, so I don't think it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Robot uprising, who knows?
Yeah, robot uprising, maybe clones of everybody.
Yeah, maybe it's something just like an advanced other country or something.
Maybe it's the others.
Yeah, it's Benjamin Linus.
This looks great, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And then Sunday, January 17th, we got Damian Lewis returning to Showtime alongside Paul Giamatti, big actor, could name tons of stuff with him in it. Sideways, he was even in one of the new Spider-Man movies. He was in John Adams on HBO. He's a very recognizable actor.
Paul Giamatti, he's a fantastic actor. He's wonderful.
This also has Maggie Siff, who was in Sons of Anarchy and Mad Men, and Malin Ackerman from Watchmen. This is a show about a hedge fund king. So these are the people that basically ruined our world.
And as such, I have no interest in watching a show about them. It's just really boring to me, and also I just hate watching shows about like awful people, like the type of character Damian Lewis is playing.
The Wall Street people. That
I mean, unless he's going to get some kind of comeuppance, I'm just not interested.
Well, it looks like Paul Giamatti is playing some kind of an investigator. So I don't know. It could be interesting if it ends up being Damian Lewis versus Paul Giamatti.
Right.
Paul Giamatti bringing him down or something. That could be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously what it's saying. Whether Paul Giamatti is going to bring him down, I don't know.
Or if he becomes corrupted by money himself or something.
Yeah, right.
Any interest, Kat?
Nah.
So on that same day, we have Mercy Street on PBS. This is basically PBS saying, we import a lot of period piece shows. Right. A lot of period piece melodramas. Why don't we make our own?
Well, yeah, right. There's all these BBC period piece dramas set in like 18th century England, Victorian England stuff. That's all well and good. But what about America? What about 18th century America?
So this is basically Civil War, Downton Abbey, or like Civil War, Call the Midwife, I guess. I don't know, probably closer to that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in it from Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's about two nurses on opposing sides of the Civil War. So yeah, and a street that brings mercy.
Right.
Who knows? I really don't have much interest in this. I'm not into like Downton Abbey or Call the Midwife.
Right. I'm not much into period dramas. Yeah, not much interest in this really. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like the Civil War, but not that much.
Kat? Yeah.
Not really into period.
Yeah. Unless it's like period mixed with sci-fi. Like the Doctor Who episodes.
Exactly.
Doctor Who is a bizarre exception to everything.
Right? They do a lot of period stuff on Doctor Who, but yeah.
Exactly. If there were dinosaurs and time travel, then then I'd watch every episode of this.
Well, who knows? I mean, maybe they're holding that back from us.
I know, right? One of them turns out to be a cyborg.
Yeah.
going to plot to take over the world is exposed.
So on the same day as that, here's a very interesting one. It's Angie Tribeca, which is the new Rashida Jones comedy. Rashida Jones, of course, from Parks and Recreation. This is like a police procedural satire. It's a satire of police procedurals. But what's interesting here is that the date here I'm listing here, this isn't for the first episode of the first season. This is for the first season. They're marathoning the first season starting.
25-hour marathon.
They say 25-hour, but I think that's because it's going to repeat a few times.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is an interesting move. And what's even more interesting is that the next week, season 2 starts.
Yeah.
Season 2 won't be a marathon. It'll be just...
They're airing season 1 in a single day, and then the next week they're starting season 2.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. What this looks like is they didn't know what to do with it at first, and they held on to it, and they ordered another season, and they said, oh shit, we haven't even aired season 1, and we're already...
Wait,
we already got headway on season 2.
It's like, why are we ordering more of this? We haven't aired anything. What are we doing?
They've been putting commercials on TBS. I watch TBS because of Conan. And when I've watched Conan, they have like this advertisement that's very clearly a spoof of like season 2 of True Detective. About like everything just being too dark, and it looks really funny. So this could be good. This kind of makes me think a little bit of, I don't think it'll be as good as, but there's a British series called A Touch of Cloth that comes from I can't think of his name right now. The same guy that made Charlie Brooker, who made Black Mirror. And it's an incredibly funny series starring the guy who played Badiatus in Spartacus.
Yeah.
As this police detective, and it's a spoof. It's like a Naked Gun or something, like style spoof. And it's just so over the top and ridiculous and so fast, and there's constantly stuff that like you'll be laughing so hard that you'll miss like 15 jokes. You have to like rewind and go, okay, I just missed all those other jokes because I was just laughing at that first one. This kind of has a similar vibe to it. I'm not expecting it to be as good, but it should be good. It looks good. And I like Rashida Jones from Parks and Recreation, so...
Oh, yeah. Rashida Jones is great.
I don't know about their distribution method, because binge-watching is great and all, but that's more like watching it on your own schedule.
Yeah, not watching
binge-watching on a planned marathon is a little bit rough.
It's just like, oh, geez. Yeah.
Hopefully they dump it all on Hulu or something at the same time, you know?
Hopefully. Who knows?
This is one I might check out. That, like I said, though, giving you 1 week to binge watch the first season before season 2 starts is everything else on my plate. That's a little rough.
Yeah, that's a little rough. I don't know if we're gonna make room for that.
Yeah, that might be something to a Netflix catch up later or something. We'll have to see. I'll probably check out at least the first episode just to see what it is. Yeah. So Thursday, January 21st, Portlandia returns to IFC, and we have a new Zach Galifianakis comedy called Baskets on FX. This is actually from Louis C.K. is producing this series. Zach Galifianakis, of course, from The Hangover. That's kind of his breakout role that everyone knows him from. It's the short, fat, bearded guy in The Hangover.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, basically, that's who he is.
Yeah. In this series, he's somebody that always dreamed of being a clown. And he decides to pursue his dream, quit his job, do everything, so that he can go to this, like, clown college in Paris, this, like, really well-respected school. He can't get into it, so he has to settle for the second best, which is to work as a rodeo clown. And from what we've seen in the trailers and stuff, it looks like he's very bitter about it. So it's basically the, story about a bitter clown.
bitter Zach Galifianakis is best now, Zach Galifianakis. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, this looks good, definitely. And, Louis C.K.'s involvement, of course, is also very noteworthy because Louis is such a great show.
Yep. Oh, yeah, definitely. Some real talent behind this.
Mm-hmm. See here. Saturday, January 23rd, Black Sails returns. This is This is the pirate series on Starz. Starz quickly becoming a pretty notable powerhouse with some of the stuff they've been putting out recently. Black Sails is a pretty highly regarded series that doesn't really get... It's highly regarded by people who watch it.
Oh, really?
A lot of people who haven't watched it. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I think I stopped watching in the most recent season 2, just because I had too much going on. I had just too much stuff and I had to drop something, and Black Sails unfortunately got the cut. But it's one of those things that, you know, I might go back to at some point. I did watch like a season and a half of it, so you guys, either of you have any interest in Black Sails?
Yeah, it's one of those kind of shows that, like, in the future, if I had free time, I would try it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not something I'm dying to see, really. And
yeah.
Besides that, I don't have Starz anyway, so it's kind of like...
It's too much TV.
Yeah, right. It's too much TV. Stop it.
I need to, like, clone myself so I can have different selves watching parts of different shows.
Yeah, you're right. They just need to, like, stop making good shows.
I just need to remove my sleep, like Lorne.
Oh, yeah.
Angel.
I didn't want to do that more than once.
If I didn't like sleeping so much. Okay, Sunday, January 24th. That's a huge day for fans of genre television. The X-Files is back on Fox. This is something that you had some trepidation about, Kat, when it was announced. What are your thoughts now, having kind of, you know, as it's times... What was that?
On which show?
The X-Files.
Oh.
Still trepidation?
I'm still just so hung up on the fact that the last 3 seasons were terrible, and even 7th season was really floundering, and how the second movie is totally unnecessary, and how wondering how on earth they're going to transport this series into a modern era where television narrative has evolved so much that I just don't see the way the X-Files worked in the 90s fitting, even though, like, it's hugely responsible for spawning all of this. I don't know, so I'm just like, I'll wait and see how others respond to it, but it just feels so unnecessary to me.
What's interesting about the X-Files, this return series, is that, there's a lot that's interesting about it, but particularly for me is that a lot of people were kind of like you about it. They were kind of negative, especially when the first couple trailers came out. They were like, oh, this looks really bad. And expectations sunk very, very low. And then I believe they screened the first episode at New York Comic Con. And reaction was overwhelmingly positive. So it's kind of had this weird road, because, like, it was announced and fans went nuts. They were like, oh my god, the X-Files is back! Then people started seeing the first kind of shots of it, and they were like, oh, they ruined the X-Files. And then, you know, some people actually saw the episode, and it's like, oh my god, the X-Files is back! So it's hard to kind of know what to expect on this. It is interesting that they didn't just bring back Mulder and Scully. That if you watch some of the trailers and stuff, it looks like almost everyone's back. Sure. Even the cigarette smoking man, Cancer Man's back.
It has Joel McHale, and I'm gonna have a hard time taking it seriously as a
I know. I saw Joel McHale, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh right, Joel McHale. I'm already laughing. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm like,
well, I'm glad he's got work because the suit got canceled. So
I know. Why did they cancel the suit? Why? Oh my god.
22 years and it's gone now. So
I used to love that show. That show is how I found out Community existed.
Yahoo's basically blaming Community for all their problems now.
The poor Joel. He just can't seem to catch a break all of a sudden. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah. So I'm glad he's got work.
Yeah. Right.
But on that same day, our most highly anticipated show of all time, Lucifer on Fox.
Oh, of course. I'm dying to see this.
A fantastic premise, ruined by modern TV.
Sell my soul to see this.
I already sold mine for a donut.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's sacrilegious. But anyways, yeah, Lucifer is like the prime example of, you know, let's take an interesting premise, you know, team the guy up with a hot female police officer for will they, won't they tension as they solve crimes.
I loved your write-up here. Lucifer takes the most iconic villain of all time crime and teams them up with a hot female police officer to solve... Wait, really? Ugh. Pretty much.
Yeah, so I mean, this is, I don't know. I probably will not watch this. I usually give shows a chance. I pretty much watch everything, at least the first episode or something, to kind of get an idea of what it is. This is one that kind of profoundly annoyed me when I saw the direction they took it in. And,
this profoundly annoyed me too, especially
so unless I hear, like, you know, people going, look, no, wait, this was actually amazing, which I doubt I'll hear, I'm not going to check this one out.
Especially since they adapted it from Neil Gaiman material. It's like, holy cow, can you just not do that? That's sacrilege almost.
I remember, Kat, you were laughing when we first announced the premise of Lucifer teaming up with a female cop to solve crimes.
It's like so many procedurals that are on TV right now.
I know, yeah.
It really does.
And there's going to be lots of UST between them, and she probably has like this really troubled past, and she's seeing a therapist.
Get this.
She has to be connected to him in some way.
Get this. Lucifer is so charming, and he can use his supernatural guile to charm any woman except for his hot female partner.
Because she's Belle from Twilight, or...
Yeah, because, you know, because she's strong and independent, and then in season 5 they'll finally get together because of the will they won't they tension. Oh my god. This is hard.
So, on that same night, we get the long-awaited return of Angie Tribeca, season 2.
Oh,
by this time it'll have been a week.
Oh my god, that's just way too long for more Angie Tribeca. They gotta pace themselves. They gotta, like, you know, try to make more.
It's so weird to talk about the second season premiere of a show that hasn't aired yet. Tuesday, January 26th, The Outsiders on WGN. This looks kind of like a cross between Sons of Anarchy and Justified, just without the humor.
I didn't really see any of Justified in there.
Just the setting.
Yeah.
The kind of rural mountain men kind of stuff, you know. You see that in Justified. That's why I said without the humor.
It's like way over dramatic, way over the top. You know, they played up these mountain people like they're like some sort of like mythical, you know, like, I don't know, like just these mythical untouchable people or something, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Stories about mountain men on the Appalachian Hills that are outsiders from the law. They kind of just do their own thing. They're off the grid.
Yeah.
It shows them cruising through in a giant pack on ATVs, going into a like grocery store and stuff, and just driving them through the grocery store. I don't know.
It's like this really bizarre romanticism, like romanticizing these people.
Well, it looks like they're going for that kind of Sons of Anarchy vibe, and they even got one of the most iconic, you know, actors in Sons of Anarchy is in the show as well. So they're really going for that kind of like outlaw, you know, like glorifying the outlaw lifestyle kind of thing. But yeah, and then they're taking the kind of setting you get from, like, you know, Justified, except Justified had a really good sense of humor about it.
Yeah, Justified had a really good sense, and Justified never like really romanticized anything, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this does not look good to me. This kind of popped up onto my radar out of nowhere. Like, it was just like, what the hell was that? All of a sudden, there's a trailer for the show, and I'm like, oh wow, it actually looks like it has high production values, kind of has like a Sons of Anarchy-esque look to it. Checked out the trailer, and I'm like, oh, I don't know.
I don't know how I feel. It's just weird to me.
Have you heard anything about the series before, Kat? Does the idea of a bunch of mountain men on ATVs on the Appalachian Hills sound particularly compelling?
No.
Damn, I thought I had you pegged.
You should at least watch that trailer. It is. I don't know how to feel.
Yeah. It's probably going to be well made. I just don't know if there's going to be any interest in it.
Right. It looks like it's got high production values. There's that. But yeah, I'm not particularly interested.
Okay, so Wednesday, January 27th, the return of Suits. Do either of you watch that?
Nope.
No.
It's actually a pretty decent show on USA. I think it's kind of one of the shows that started moving them towards this like sexy power kind of image away from their more quirky one they had with like Monk and Psych. And that image is now getting replaced by, you know, what Mr. Robot's doing on USA. So it's kind of like this is like the only show that kind of survived that era.
Suits I think was the last of like the old guard style.
Yeah, or like the middle guard. Like the old guard was the Psych and Monk, and Suits is like this middle territory. And they're like the last surviving one there, yeah. It's a decent show. It's got Gina, I can't remember what her last name is. She was in Firefly and Buffy. Or not Buffy, Angel.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah, she's in it. And it's I watch the show, so I'll continue to watch it. I know Lee really likes the show, and they film it in Toronto, so maybe we'll get a set visit for Lee. She'll run down there and watch it. It's a good show. It's just it's not something I'd go like run out and watch it right now, Cat and Will. You need to watch Suits. It's a good show, but it's not must-watch television in my opinion. Let's see here. Friday, January 29th, Banshee. Now this, I feel, is kind of like much-watched television. It's very kind of acknowledged show, I feel. I actually did one of our spotlight pieces on it. Starts off as a very good action series and just slowly starts becoming more and more in that. It's very stylized, though. Have either of you seen anything of Banshee?
Fortunately, I haven't.
I haven't.
It's a series on Cinemax. It's like about, you know, gangsters, and it has to do with like Amish country, and there's all sorts of like weird stuff going on, these different crossing stories. But this season, Elijah Dushku joined the cast for is the final season of Banshee. So yeah, you know, Faith herself. It's actually a really good show. I would recommend it if it comes to like a streaming service or something and you notice it. Not going to be a show for everyone, but if you do like highly stylized, very action heavy, you know, noir-esque, kind of over the top, you know, like it does it really well. Looks beautiful. Yeah, we'll have to see the final season. So.
All right, it's getting really late and I have to get up early, so I think I'm going to take off.
All right.
Okay.
So I'll talk to the both of you on.
Okay.
Right, see you soon.
We'll talk to you later, Kat.
Okay, bye.
All right. Okay, so let's kind of rush through the rest of this here. Tuesday, February 2nd, American Crime Story. This is the other American Crime anthology series I mentioned. This one is going to be true crime. So the first season is The People versus O.J. Simpson, which, you know, growing up in Los Angeles, that was like all over the place.
Sorry. Yeah.
That was pretty omnipresent everywhere, but like, you know, especially in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine like growing up in Los Angeles. Like, you know, I was far away from Los Angeles. I remember it being a big, you know, it was a huge deal back then. Of course, I remember on Sliders at the time. Oh my God, they had an episode of Sliders where he actually went back to his own universe and he picked up the newspaper and it was about the O.J. Simpson trial and he just said no way, and then he like slid again because he thought it wasn't his universe because of that.
This is Ryan Murphy doing the series. He also does American Horror Story and Scream Queens, which Will and I love. So yeah, are you gonna watch this?
Yes.
Personally, I think I'll wait until I hear reaction from it. I think what put me off on this show was that I saw, you know, John Travolta is in this, playing Robert Robert something, one of OJ's famous lawyers, and I saw like the commercial for it, and I just was like, okay, I can't take this seriously.
I'm totally not expecting to take it seriously. I want to see how hilariously bad this ends up being. I'm kind of interested in it for like the straight up cheese factor, which I hope is very high.
Yeah. So February 14th, The Walking Dead comes back. It's still on TV right now, but it's going to come back to finish off its season. Vinyl is going to be a new series on HBO. My description for it: sex, drugs, rock, roll, Jagger, Scorsese, HBO. Because that's basically what it is. This is about kind of like the 1970s, 80s like rock scene in New York, and the kind of like the punk rock kind of scene. And this is co-developed by Martin Scorsese and Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones.
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of big name people involved in this for, and HBO, of course.
Yeah, not interested.
Not interested in like the background stuff of the punk scene in New York and the business.
Not really, no.
I'm not too terribly interested either, but the people involved, I might at least check out first.
I always found like the music industry and the behind the scenes of the music industry to be terribly boring. Because really, all it is pretty much sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I'm like, it's just not something interesting.
Sex, drugs, rock and roll, boring.
Boring. I mean,
tell me when they start doing their taxes.
Yeah, I know, right? Taxes. Oh boy. I guess it's just the type of thing that doesn't appeal to me. Like I guess if it was like the story of like a particular band or something.
Yeah, this is going to be more about like the producers and the executives,
right? Rather
than about musicians or
like I watched the movie about the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger is producing this. There was a movie about the Rolling Stones, more specifically about the murder of the original lead singer of the Rolling Stones. About like his murder, or his mysterious death, but it was obviously a murder. Brian Jones was the guy's name, and I thought that was an interesting story. That was an interesting movie.
Was it a documentary or like a biopic?
It was like a biopic.
Okay.
Yeah, it was specifically like about that murder stuff. I thought that was interesting. So I mean, there are interesting stories, obviously, but I mean, the stuff about like the production of it and all of like the producers, I just don't care. It's like,
yeah, it's. I mean, the people involved are good. The premise not as terribly exciting. But hey, Martin Scorsese, that's going to get me a look.
Yeah,
I'm going to look on that alone. So February 15th, 2016, we have the premiere of 11/22/63 on Hulu. This is based on the book by Stephen King of the same name, being produced by J.J. Abrams and starring James Franco.
This has the potential to be amazing.
This could be Hulu's first like heavy hitter.
It's Stephen King, so like with all Stephen King adaptations, it has the potential to either be amazing or extremely campy.
Yeah,
because Stephen King adaptations seem to go in one of those two directions.
Hey, and you can double down on that polarity because James Franco's in it too.
Yeah,
which is the same thing with him.
It's the same thing with them. So, but one thing I will say about any Stephen King adaptation, good or bad, is that they are never boring. They are either really good, really campy.
I don't know that Under the Dome on CBS got pretty boring.
Oh my God, that was a horrible, horrible thing. The thing about that though is it was so horrible, but it was like amazingly bad in like this train wreck, this entertaining train wreck kind of way. It was like because they just had like these insane plot elements. And I stopped watching Under.
I just don't think they knew how to utilize the actors they had and stuff.
Oh no, the acting was terrible. The characterization was what killed that show. Really, the characters were just flat and uninteresting, and that ultimately killed it. No matter how many zany plot twists they want to throw in there.
Yeah,
it was like, and they got one of the actors from Breaking Bad. He was excellent in Breaking Bad, and somehow he was terrible in that. I don't understand how you do that.
So back to the show though, 11/22/63.
Hopefully this is another Under the Dome. Yes.
As the date would David implied, this is about the JFK assassination and about a man time traveling to stop it.
Okay, I want to point out something because I'm such a nerd about this stuff. Okay, so in the trailer, he goes through a door to get to 1963. Just like in the Dark Tower, Roland travels between worlds through doors.
Well, the Dark Tower is supposed to be deeply connected to everything King's written, isn't it?
Yeah, so I take that as like a big Dark Tower connection, because that's like the same type of doors that Roland travels through.
Wasn't there a plot in the Dark Tower where like they actually saved Stephen King or something?
Oh, I don't know.
He had written himself into the story.
If he did, I didn't read up that far. I only read like up to halfway through Wolves of Akala, so I don't know if I got that far to where it got like so that meta, but that sounds terrible.
I don't know. I mean, people still love that series, so
yeah. Fantastic series.
But yeah, that's 11/22/63 on Hulu. It is not premiering on 11/22/63. That would be in the past. It's premiering on February 15th, 2016.
So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely, that's going to be entertaining. I have no doubt. I think with J.J. Abrams behind it, it's not going to be like an Under the Dome style train wreck.
Speaking of Under the Dome, which had an actor from Breaking Bad in it, on that same night, Better Call Saul back on AMC. So, nice. What did you think? Did you finish season 1, right?
I didn't, actually.
Oh, you didn't? Oh,
no, I need to.
It got so good by the end, too.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Definitely, like, it had some slow points in Better Call Saul, but by the end, like, stuff came together beautifully, and it really worked. So, yeah, I'm definitely really excited. Of course, Bob Odenkirk. We talked before about David Cross's new series and Bob Odenkirk, and then just last week, we had with Bob and David,
If Bob and David came out. I was disappointed with Bob and David was only 4 episodes, but then I realized they both have shows happening, like full-time shows, so it makes sense that they couldn't make that much material for a sketch comedy show right off the bat, because they both have things going on,
Yeah.
Bob Odenkirk starting in his own series, and so is David Cross. So I guess it makes sense that they're
both great series, too. So.
Yeah, both great series. So, both very, very talented comedians.
Yeah, so I'm definitely really looking forward to that, and I'll say right now that's the last really good-looking thing on our schedule.
Yeah, unless you're really into girls.
Meaning the show.
The show, obviously.
So Sunday, February 21st, 2016, Girls, which I'll just refer to as the female entourage, is back on HBO. I really don't like Girls. I don't know.
Or that boring show about whiny rich white women.
Yeah. Man, I really don't like Girls. I know some people really like it, and some people get like the idea if you don't like it, that means you're sexist. I just think they're horrible people. I also didn't like Entourage for the same reason.
I also didn't like Entourage because they're terrible people. I don't want to, again, these are women, but they happen to be terrible, people. Entourage is about terrible people.
And there's some terrible men on Girls, too, for gender equality.
I know it's always saying in Philadelphia is about terrible people.
But it's funny.
They're idiots, and nothing they do works out to their favor. So it's like there's
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude, and it's hilarious that way. This is not supposed to be funny.
On the same night, Togetherness returns to HBO. I only watched the first episode of Togetherness. I actually thought it was pretty good. I just never got around to watching more of it. This is from the Duplass brothers, who they've done quite a bit in the indie realm, and one of them is actually in Transparent, the Duplass brothers as well, who's involved in writing this show, but I don't think he actually appears in Togetherness. It's a good show. I think it's definitely a lot better than Girls. But it's something I'm obviously not up to date on. Did you watch any of Togetherness, or?
No, I honestly know nothing about it. Like, absolutely zero. So.
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't demand a lot of your attention. So it'll be, it's like it's a decent show. So we'll see what happens with that. Monday, February 29th, you know what that means.
Oh, yeah. Gotham, yeah, right.
it means that we're on a leap year. But Gotham back on Fox.
Back with the Joker.
Yeah.
Right. You look at this picture you posted here, and I'm sorry, you'd have to tell me that was the Joker, because I'm like, it's some guy.
Can't you see he's smiling?
Oh, yeah, I know. Like, that's
Gotham's
a person.
I lost interest in that a long time ago. It's, that's currently airing, I think, so it'll be back, though, to finish its mid-season.
I can't wait for the episode where 12-year-old Bruce Wayne puts on, like, a miniature version of the Batsuit and then becomes Bat Kid. Can we have an episode with Batmite? Oh my god.
That wraps up our winter American TV preview. Now, before we end, we'd like to talk about what's coming up in the next week. This time, we're actually going to be talking about what's coming up in the next 2 weeks, which is still only 3 shows, because we're not going to be here on Thanksgiving week. We record on Thursdays. That's going to be Thanksgiving for us. We're not doing it.
Technically talk about what's coming up in the next 2 weeks, though.
One of the shows.
Oh, okay.
So two of the shows first. Actually, by the time this podcast is up, will be out in their entirety. Their 2 seasons. These are 2 we have been waiting for. This is some of the most exciting coming up shows. So from the time we're recording this, I'd say in about an hour and 17 minutes from now, The Man in the High Castle is going to be on Amazon, the entire run of the first season, and Marvel's Jessica Jones is going to be on Netflix.
Oh my god, staying up an hour or so and then binge watching both of them.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I'm gonna start binging Jessica Jones before I start editing this. I'm gonna go downstairs and start binging. So yeah, I mean, we've already said kind of all we can say about these 2. So excited. Jessica Jones continues to get just universal praise from people reviewing it. Man in the High Castle, same thing. People are just completely enthusiastic about it. Could not look better. Could not be more excited for both of them. This is huge. I mean, we're talking 26 episodes dropping in one day of top-notch television,
Yeah, this is top tier. This is great.
Yeah, so this is going to be pretty crazy. So, you guys, you're not going to be able to hear us on a podcast next week because we're taking it off for Thanksgiving, but you shouldn't have no need of us because there's The Man in the High Castle and Marvel's Jessica Jones. And that should keep you plenty occupied. Let's see here. The week after that, December 1st, we already talked about Real Rob. That was the first show we talked about. And so we've come full circle on this podcast.
Yes.
So yeah, that ends our podcast. Thank you everybody for listening. Kat joined us. She had to leave to get up for work tomorrow. I am Tyson, your host. Will joined me today, and you can reach me on Twitter at Tyson Gifford. You can reach Will at Voxel Hero. Check out our website, TVEnthusiast.com. Like us on Facebook. Check out our Facebook page, TV Enthusiast. You can check out our YouTube channel and see our Marvel Cinematic Universe and DC videos that we do every week as well. We're going to be doing another one of those this Sunday, so you can look out for that. It'll be up on Monday. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@tventhusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network.